On 107.9 FM and online, this is GTFM on this Wednesday morning. We began the hour with The Weekend and Blinding Lights, and there was George Benson and Turn You Will Love Around. Fast approaching 11:15 then on this Wednesday morning. I've been mentioning my very special guest this morning for obvious reasons, because she is one of Wales's great sportswomen. I mentioned rugby union, I've mentioned judo, I've mentioned weightlifting, and of course freestyle wrestling. I really can't wait for this. It's time now then to say good morning to Non Evans MBE. Good morning to you, Non.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm very well indeed. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Pleasure.
Now then, Swansea girl, they make them tough down there, don't they?
Well, I think they're more Scarlet, actually. I was born in Forest near Portugal, so I went to school in St. so my father's a Swansea Jack, but I was always a bit of a Turk myself, a Scarlet supporter, and then I moved to Cardiff when I was 16 to pursue my sport, and stayed in Cardiff until I retired, and then I moved down to sunny Mumbles, although it's raining today.
Oh, nice part of the world, Mumbles.
It is, it's gorgeous down here, I love it.
Right, now I've mentioned rugby union. First of all, let's go back to, I guess, the early days. When did you first, I'm guessing, Non, looked at the television, looked at perhaps the Welsh game, the men's game as it probably was then, back in the sort of early 80s, I'm guessing. What made you take up rugby in the first place?
Early 80s, I was only in primary school. Yes, I always watched the rugby, and I went to the international games with my father when I was a child. I was always a bit of a tomboy, and I played football actually in school. There was no women's rugby when I was young, so I didn't actually start playing rugby until I went to university in Cardiff when I was 18. I went to King Coed and did a degree in sport, surprise. And that's when I saw the women's rugby team. But because I did judo from a young age, I was used to the physical side, because a judo throw is actually a rugby tackle, Marotogari it's called, and so I was used to the contact side of it, and I was fast at running and did athletics in school, and I'd been doing acrobatics. So I picked it, as soon as I picked up a ball, I could do it quite naturally. Obviously I had to learn the skills of passing and kicking. But I picked it up quite quickly and went on to play for Welsh students, Welsh universities, then Wales A or Wales B. And then I broke into the Welsh team a few years later then. So all started in university, whereas these days you've got girls rugby, tag rugby, touch rugby, mini rugby. But there wasn't anything when I was young, so the girls started a lot younger age these days.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the martial arts, karate. In fact, last year I had Alan Davis from Kai Kashinkai. He came in for a chat. I love judo because it gives you that sort of self-discipline as well, Non, doesn't it, judo?
Yes, it certainly does. And, I think all children should do some kind of martial art, because it teaches you that discipline, controlled aggression, and also judo is such a good core sport for many sports. You have to be flexible, strong, agile. You work on anaerobic fitness, aerobic fitness, and it's technical as well. So it's a good grounding for many children to go on to lots of different sports. And Sean Edwards is now coaching France, of course, coached the Welsh team. He came to watch me doing judo and wrestling and took my coach into the Welsh setup with the men and used some of our techniques which help with kind of the tackle, jackal, and the contact area, and being low and keeping your body, being used to using your body weight to get up and down off the floor. So all Wales's defence success is down to me.
Well, you can laugh at that, but I guess you're right, aren't you? Well done, you.
Yes, he came down and watched his training in Spy Gardens and took Alan Jones, my judo and wrestling coach, into the Welsh setup. And you've seen there were some programmes on television showing the boys training leading up to the World Cup, and they wrestle each other. So it is a good grounding for rugby, that's for sure.
Alan, where's he from, Alan Jones?
Alan Jones is he's from Wigan originally, Warrington. He was my coach back when I went to the Commonwealth Games in 2002. He coaches the Welsh wrestling team. He still competes himself. He's over 70 years of age now, and he's still the world or European veteran champion. So he's a real inspiration. And
I guess when you say that age, it just goes to show it does work to keep people fit, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. For fitness, I think I've ever been. I wrestled in the 2010 Commonwealth Games out in Delhi, and I think wrestling's even harder than judo, because judo you get to grip hold of the gi, the shirts, whereas wrestling is very, very physical. So was probably the fittest I've ever been before the Commonwealth Games in 2010.
So let's go back to the rugby just for a second then, Non. The youth system, what's it like in the women's game compared to the boys' game then?
It's improving all the time, and they have all these girls' cluster teams now all over Wales, and lots of young girls turning up to take part in rugby, and they play tag rugby before they go into the tackling. I think there is still a little bit of a gap. A lot of young girls play rugby up to the age of perhaps 10, 11, 12, and then they don't play in the mixed team anymore with the boys, and there's a gap then before they're old enough to go into the ladies setup. So I think that's something the Welsh Rugby Union are looking at, to make sure they don't lose these young girls who start playing when they transition into senior rugby. So there's still a lot of work to be done, but the numbers are growing. I think England are way ahead of probably the rest of the world in terms of their development, and they're actually the only professional team in the world. So we've got a long way to go to dominate the women's game and win the Grand Slam every year in the Six Nations. Things are getting better. We've got paid coaches now. They get a lot of television coverage compared to when I was playing. So it is going from strength to strength, but there's still a long way to go in Wales.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. And do the Welsh Rugby Union, do they consult with people like yourself, Non? Because, somebody like yourself who's been there and done it?
That's one thing I was a little bit disappointed. I announced my retirement from rugby. I played in the 2010 World Cup, and then I commentated for the BBC for Scrum 5, and I worked on the World Cup in 2014, and the Olympics in 2012. And I think that's one thing perhaps that is missing. You've got some girls now who are going on to Scrum 5 a bit more, Philippa Tuckett, Rachel Taylor, etc. And they're doing some Rachel's coaching a men's team, but I think they do let a lot of the senior players who played for Wales for years slip through the net, and so they're perhaps developing us like the men do with people like Sam Orbison now being part of the setup. They tend to get male coaches in. The only person who's involved is Lisa Burgess, who set up the Welsh women's rugby team back in the 80s, played in the first international against England in Pontypool Park. She's involved, but there's not many ex-players involved in the Welsh setup, but I think that would be beneficial to the girls to have people with experience and have women coach them, not just the men who've done the level 4 coaching awards.
Yeah, they need to address that, I would have said. No, definitely.
Yes, that's something I think should be looked at. People just retire and disappear. You had Melissa Berry, who had over 80 caps for Wales. She captained Wales over 50 times. She retired and disappeared, and she was one of the best players Wales have ever had. And it was the same with myself. I said I was retiring, and they just said goodbye.
Oh, dear. Well, they should do something about that. Yeah. I've got to ask you this. Toughest opponent, first of all, in club rugby?
Well, I played most of my rugby in the English League because I was playing for university first, for Cardiff in Kincoed, and then I went to play for Cardiff Quins. But I was ending up scoring 6, 7, 8, 9 tries in a game, and it wasn't...
Oh, you little show-off, you.
So the closest English Premiership club was Clifton in Bristol. So a number of the Welsh girls, we used to travel every Tuesday, every Thursday over to Bristol for training. And then we played in the English League, which was Saracens, Wasps, Richmond, Worcester. So there was 8 to 10 really good clubs in the English Premiership. There was loads of travelling up and down the motorway every week. But as a consequence, because so many of us played tough games week in, week out in the English League, the Welsh team improved, and we actually beat England for the first time ever in Taswell. So a lot of the Welsh girls now still play in England, but now they have got the regions as well, the Scarlet, Ospreys, Dragons and Blues. So I'm not sure who my toughest opponent was. It was always hard travelling away to Saracens. They had Maggie Alfonsi, who's obviously made a name for herself now, winning the World Cup with the English women, and does a lot of television punditry work. She's probably one of the toughest players I played against. And
no doubt, one of your friends as well, I would have thought.
Yes, I was friendly with a lot of the English girls and played with them as well. I played a lot on the 7th circuit over the years, and Wales didn't have a 7th team, so I used to go and play for invitational sides such as Wooden Spoon, Samurai, and be myself and perhaps one other Welsh girl, and all the English players. So it was a bit like a Great Britain side going to the Olympics. Great experience playing with such world-class players on the World 7 circuit.
Well, a remarkable career, 87 caps. You amassed 489 points, scoring 64 international tries. Now, that's got to be a record for the ladies, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's a record for women's rugby, 64 tries and 87 caps. But it's also a record in the men's game. There's somebody in Japan, I think, Yokohama, somebody who scored more, but they don't really look at that. But David Campese scored 64 tries, but he had 103 caps, I think. And Shane Williams, they always say, if you go to a pub quiz, they say who's the top try scorer for Wales. Shane Williams says he's got 64 tries, and he's actually got 87 caps as well. But he's only got 57 for Wales, and the rest of his are the Lions tries. So I'm the top try scorer for Wales in men and the women.
Well, yeah, you'd say so, because Shane had the extra caps, of course, on the Lions tour.
That's right, yes, that's right.
So let's go to judo then, because we've already touched on it already. It's a fantastic sport, individual sport. And you won silver medals at both the Commonwealth Judo Championships in '92 when it was in Cardiff, and in '96 in Mauritius. Is that right?
It was Mauritius and Malta, actually, not Cardiff. I did compete in the Commonwealth Championships in Cardiff when I was still in school. And then judo was left out of the Commonwealth Games. They still hold the Commonwealth Judo Championships. I won a silver medal out in Malta and a silver medal out in Mauritius. Right. And then, unfortunately, I finished fourth place in the Manchester Commonwealth Games in 2002 because judo was back in the Games there. But I competed in weightlifting and judo in the Manchester Commonwealth Games, becoming the first person to compete in two sports at the same Games. So that was a bit tough.
Yeah, I bet it was, yes.
Well, yeah, I was always on a diet to make my weight, a bit like the boxers do. I was always on a diet with my judo to make my weight. And with the weightlifting, I competed in a higher weight category, under 63 kilos. And the weightlifting followed the judo the following day. So it worked out perfect. If it had been the other way around, I don't think I would have managed it.
No.
To drop my weight to do the judo. But they complemented each other because the clean and jerk and snatch, the weightlifting, was part of my training anyway for my power training. So it wasn't as though I just plucked a sport out of the air. All the sports I did, judo complemented rugby, the weightlifting complemented my judo and my rugby, and the wrestling then is very similar to the judo. So all the sports I did definitely complemented each other.
All-rounder, absolute all-rounder. Now, I got to mention as well, of course, you took part in Gladiators, 1997.
That's right, yes. The year I was on Gladiators, it was... So 26,000 people had gone through the fitness trials, and they picked 16 men and 16 women. So just to get on to the show itself was probably harder than competing. I turned up in London, expected to be greeted at the door, but it was a bit like kind of the X Factor or Britain's Got Talent of today. Everybody wanted to be on Gladiators, and the year I was on it, they had 19 million viewers watch the show. So it was at the peak of its audience, and it was a brilliant experience and something I'll never forget.
Now then, I got to mention this as well, tongue-in-cheek, I'm sure. In 2000, you know what's coming, didn't you? You appeared nude for a promotional video. What's all that about, not?
Oh, it was, I can't even remember that. It's on my Wikipedia page, but I think I was in Silly Castle with Ray Gravel and Hilary Shawn, the late Ray Gravel. And it was an advert for Club Rugby, which I was presenting on S4C. So I wasn't stood naked in front of the camera. I think I was lying on a massage bed, and Ray Gravel was pretending to be some kind of king, and you could see the shape of my body silhouetted, but it wasn't as bad as it sounds.
I bet Grav loved that, did he?
Oh yeah, Grav loved it.
What a legend he was, absolutely brilliant. Well done on the MBE, by the way, back in 2011. First ever female rugby player to achieve this award, not bad, eh?
Yes, it was great. It was a bit of a bittersweet that year, 2011, because I retired from rugby in 2010 to focus on my wrestling, and I was hoping to go to London 2012, and I did all the qualifying events, but then the competition just in 2011, not long before the Olympics in 2012, I completely ruptured my hamstring off the bone, one of many injuries I've had. So they had to cut me above my top of my leg and reattach my hamstring, which was 7 centimetres detached. So that was the end of my career, and I retired. So in a way, the accolades came in. I went into the Sports Hall of Fame. I had my MBE, and I also was into the Gorsedd of the Bards and the Eisteddfod. All these accolades came, but I was kind of in a difficult mindset at the time because I was a little bit down from retiring, not going to the Olympics. My career was over. So now I can look back now and think, wow, it's amazing that I got my MBE and all the accolades. But at the time, it was quite a strange feeling because your career was being celebrated, but you were feeling a bit down because of retirement.
Yeah, it's a mixed feeling, isn't it? So what sort of things do you do these days then, Non?
Well, I've been working as a medical rep for a pharmaceutical company since 2002 for Pfizer and many other companies. So I travel on the hospitals promoting my products and seeing the doctors. And I also do health eating and exercise plans for people who want to get fit or lose weight or go on a diet. And I also help people to rehabilitate them if they had bad knee injuries or knee replacements or hip replacements. So I'm using my skills of my dieting over the years to make my weight, using my fitness to help other people. So I'm still keeping myself fit as well. I've still got my six-pack, which I'm proud to say.
Good.
Yeah, I enjoy using my knowledge to help other people feel better than they feel, and to have the kind of fitness levels they want and to get back fit.
Because it is tough after retirement, isn't it? Because you get used to competing, you look forward to championships, you look forward to the next game, and then all of a sudden it is over.
Yeah, certainly. A lot of sports people have spoken openly about how they struggle with retirement from sport, and every day of my life since I can remember, I'd have a goal and get up in the morning, go training before work, train lunchtime, train in the evenings with the team, competitions, whether it be judo, rugby, games, every single weekend, tournaments, World Cups, Commonwealth Games. There's always something to look forward to. And then suddenly, bang, overnight it stops. And they compare it to having a bereavement when people lose somebody in their family, they get really down. And it's a massive loss inside you when you finish sport. And I think a lot of people suffer when they retire. But then you have to pick yourself up, set yourself new challenges and new goals and get on with it.
Absolutely. Well, you're a credit to Wales. You're a credit to all the sports that you've ever taken part in. Just before you go on, because I know you're a busy girl, Six Nations Games, of course, both the men and the women playing this coming weekend. Any tips? Or do you reckon they're going to get over the line?
Well, it's going to be tough for the ladies team. They haven't won the game so far this season. They've got a new coaching setup. Roland Phillips is on a break. They've lost a few key senior players, a lot of youngsters in the team, and it's away against an England side who beat France away. They've got a 100% winning record at the moment. They won the Grand Slam last year. It's going to be very tough for the Welsh women this weekend. And in terms of the men, we've had a little bit of a boost. I think Liam Williams is back fit. Josh Navidi's fit. I always find the year after the Men's World Cup, the Six Nations is always a little bit of a dampener because players retire after the World Cup, players have been saving themselves for operations. So we've got a lot of new players in the squad and a lot of senior players missing. So I think it will be tough for Wales, especially up in Twickenham. We haven't won there since 2012. So unfortunately, I think... Sorry for the dampener.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, because I think it probably is going to be very difficult for the both sides. But we wait and see now. You never know.
Never know, exactly.
Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us on GTFM this morning. It's been delightful chatting to you. What a career, and thank you for it as well. And don't forget to come back and have a chat with us again sometime.
I will. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks very much, Dawn.